Hello, this is Dr. Tim Harrison. I'm here at the Institute for Advanced Studies in Philosophy and Religion, and I'm joined here today by my graduate student, Blair, the Airedale Terrier. Say hello, Blair. This week, we are looking at the conquest and how the Israelites came into the land of Jordan after leaving Egypt. Now, we're going to look at some of the theories toward the end. This is quite often looked at from the point of view of modern scholarship in a very skeptical eye. Now, we're looking at actually the judges along with this. This would be the same time period. We're looking at what would be the Bronze Age, the latter part of the Bronze Age, and Joshua is leading a large contingent of people into the backside of the Jordan Rift in order to occupy the hill country and the area in around there. Remember, the people coming out of Egypt did not have skills in warfare. We don't know how organized they were. They were pretty much a large contingency of a tribe. So with that in mind, they're coming into this land. Now, one of the things that we're pretty sure of, as far as the area during this time, it's dominated mostly by the Egyptians. But there's also a couple of mysterious groups of people that are part of it as well. One of them are the Hittites. At one time thought not to actually have existed, but now we have discovered they did exist up in what is the Anatolian Peninsula, also known as Turkey today. And they were coming down, and they had quite a rift with Egypt, and this might have weakened many of the peoples in these areas. Okay, so as they come in, they're coming into an area that had sort of been weakened by war. Remember, Palestine is the place where armies went to fight because it connected Africa and Asia. So this may have weakened the area as they came in. And as Joshua and his people come in, they see this. Also, there's been an invasion or an excursion of people known as the Sea People, who have established 5 cities down on the coast. We are just now starting to take a look at these cities from an archaeological point of view. These people we call the Philistines. Actually, the term Palestine is a corruption of the word Philistine because they lived on the plains. And because they lived down here on the plains, they were very powerful. They had chariots, and they're also much more advanced than the people in this area. They actually use iron, so they have progressed beyond the Bronze Age. And this makes them a very formidable force in this area, the Philistines. One of the things that we have discovered so far about the Philistines is that, and again, this will tell you one of the reasons why they had conflict with the Jewish people, is that they love to eat pigs and dogs. That made up most of their food. And they were very well organized, and they were warlike. And so they avoided, what Joshua and the people did is avoided the Philistines because they were so strong. And they went through the back way, and they're trying to take the hill country, as it were. So they go into Canaan, and we see this sort of series of battles that they have with little city-states. One of those city-states is Jericho. We have discovered Jericho. Jericho had been ravaged quite often, it appears, and there are some interesting things from an archaeological standpoint that gives some validity to the book of Joshua. Although we cannot say for certain the exact time it took place, we can see that Jericho had been under siege quite often, and at one time was actually burned. There are 5 kings to the south. Again, kings ruled over cities, not large patches of land. They would have vassals out in the land. So Joshua and the folks start dividing the country up according to tribes. And one of the very interesting thing is that the way that Joshua and the people, as they establish the covenant and split up the land, they do it very much like in modern Middle Eastern time. they do. It's divided by land. The land is divided by family or clan, and quite often there is someone who is over them, a sheik or sheikh, and they were called judges. And these judges began to rule over the people, not a king, but a judge. Very different mindset than the kings that you see. Now, one of the things that's going to take place also, and that is going to have a strong influence on the Israelites, it's going to be a fight for them for some time, is the Canaanite religion. The Canaanite religion is an agrarian religion. It is polytheistic. It is extraordinarily sensual. It's built around the cultus of Baal and others, and is a sensual, sexual religion. And we see this quite often, and there's going to come in conflict quite often with the ideas of the covenant and the law and the people of God. And we see quite often the Jewish people moving over to the Canaanite religion and it having an influence. And then a judge would come along and help the people to defeat the Canaanites that were trying to assert their power over them. And these were the judges. These judges ruled over the folks. Now, a very important part of the Judges, the book of Judges that we see, is this idea that the people did what was right in their own eyes. There was no sense of unity. What would happen is the people would sort of fall in with the Canaanite religion. It would lead to sin and anarchism. And pretty soon the people would repent. They would call on God to send them a leader. God would send them a judge or a leader. And that judge would bring them out and redeem them. And then the pattern would start over again. So we see this time and time and time again in the Judges. In fact, it is the consistent theme of the book of Judges. Now, some of the judges that you probably know of is, of course, Samson, Gideon, Deborah, who was a female judge, Jethro, and others. There were some lesser-known ones too. But there are these incredible stories of the judges and what they did and how they fought. Samson is the only one that really goes toe-to-toe with Philistines. And, of course, that eventually leads to his demise. And he gets his revenge against these Philistines later. One of the things that we see, there was no king in Israel. And this becomes a thing as we move forward because the people are going to want a king. It becomes troubling times. We see this very terrible incident that happens to the tribe of Benjamin. And so what we see is chaos. We see a people without any leadership, anyone to rally them and pull them together. It's an ancient tale of how important leadership, good leadership, is to a people. Now, modern scholars look at the book of Joshua and Judges, and they have 4 different modalities of what might have taken place. One is an invasion. They believe that the books are actually telling about an invasion coming on, the people coming in and taking their place. This is sort of taking the book of Joshua at its word. Others see a peaceful infiltration. The people moved in, they sort of acclimated to the area, eventually winning over some of the Canaanites, and eventually they just simply dominate because they become the largest group of people there. That's happened before in history, and so some modern scholars believe that's what happened here as well. Another thing is a peasant revolt. They believe that what is being described here is really the poor people, the people without any hope or who are destitute, rising up against those in power. Now, this is not a strongly held position, and this is held usually by those people who believe in sort of a theory similar to the Hegelian theory that Marx puts forth, that eventually there are these revolutions that take place And they believe that's what happened, that it was really a peasant revolt, not an infiltration of people coming from Egypt and everything. And then the other thing is the acclamation. Again, this is sort of the Canaanites. There were these little tribes of Hebrew people, and the Canaanites sort of, again, intermarry with them, and they sort of adapt to some of their beliefs and all. Now, again, the traditional scholar believes that it happened just as it says that it happened. And there's some good indication, some reasons to believe that it did happen that way. As I said, there's some archaeological things that we have found that point to invasion and fighting here. We knew that was going on. Some of the things that we found down in what is the present-day area of Gaza indicate that some of the things that are described then we found in these Philistine cities. So whoever was writing this was very familiar with what the Philistines did and how they acted. And so depending on whether you're a traditional scholar and you believe that the book is just simply telling you things as they happened, without trying to be a history book, they're just telling you how God in a sovereign way preserved the Hebrew children and the children of Abraham. And then others believe that it's really a heroic tale, and that what's really going on is more of a peasant revolt or an acclamation or a more of a peaceful infiltration. Okay, so that's what we have this week. A couple of things. Please keep in mind your quizzes. You need to use a Bible to answer your quizzes. Some of you are having some difficulty. We will begin skipping each week the quizzes, so you're going to sort of catch up. But what we're trying to do is learn the early history of Israel, and that's why some of it is going beyond probably what you're reading as far as chapters. You just need to keep reading ahead so you'll have an idea. Hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next week.